Welcome to the Speak Your Truth podcast. I am your host, Jaya Rose. I am a brand growth coach specializing in speaking, storytelling, and really showing up in your power and your truth so you attract soul fans who say yes to your sacred work. And one of the things I teach in my Embodied Brand Academy is all about your values. It's actually one of the first things we talk about because I have seen and experienced in the coaching industry a lot of misalignment in terms of who I've worked with, who I've had on my podcast, who I've been on their podcast, because I wasn't being clear about my values and I wasn't being diligent about looking into what their values were. And if 2020 showed white people anything, it's that we need to take a stand. Now, there has been a lot of opportunity for many years, like 400 years before this, to take a stand as a white person. But we know that 2020 was heightened and that the death of George Floyd created a ripple effect across the whole world and ignited the Black Lives Matter movement in a really profound way. And what I saw in the coaching industry is a lot of sides being taken. Really, a lot of people standing up for the first time, a lot of people not standing up and being called out for it, and really just a lot of attention going to this question of what do you value? What do you stand for? And it was then that I actually worked it into what I was teaching and my program, because I deepened into a knowing that my voice as a white person is very valuable when speaking to other white people, and that it is my responsibility to make it known what I stand for. And in doing that, I create a safer space. And that is the entire point of it. And so I want to speak to a couple things that I've noticed and also just encourage you, depending on who you are and what your lived experience is. If you are white like me, then I recommend adopting some of these things. If you are a person of color, if you have a marginalized identity, my hope is that this conversation helps you feel safer in some way, helps you feel seen in some way, because I really come back to the basis of coaching being, it's like, oh gosh, I honestly get really emotional about this, because if coaching isn't to validate your experience, if it isn't to help you feel seen, then what the fuck is it for? It's not just about quantum leaping and expanding into this next level and making more money and living your best life and all of these like aspirational identities, which I love. And I think there's a place, like I teach that too. But this is about duplicity and about knowing that there are many truths simultaneously. And if as a coach, you're not able to hold the space for someone else's lived experience, especially when it's different than yours, then my call is that you should not be a coach. I have seen this time and time again, and it's like it's optional. We're just like, oh, I'm mad at them. Oh, let's hold them accountable. And it's like, no, you should not have a coaching business. You should be out of business. I know that's bold. But that's where I stand. Where do you stand? What's important to you? Is it important to you to work with people who have similar values to you? Then make known what your values are. And I'm coming to you with an emotional truth bomb today and saying we need to do better, because systemic change doesn't happen through complicity. And it can feel really helpless. Like, what do we do? I don't know. And again, as a white woman, this is not my place to educate about, not as a white woman, but as a white woman who is not well versed in systemic oppression, and I don't have the experience or the understanding of what to do on a large scale. I don't. So I defer to other people. But what I do understand is people, and I understand coaching because I've been doing it for 16 years. And what I know is that we can do better, that there is space for us as leaders to learn how to hold space for people who are different than us. No matter who or how you identify, there are people who are different than you that have a different lived experience. And I am just so tired of the gaslighting. I'm so tired of these white coaches on Facebook popping up with this like, yeah, but, or don't talk about race. Don't play the race card. Everybody, it's all lives matter. And I'm like, you know what? Sit down, because this is not only not helpful and you're not doing anything good for anybody, it's harmful to anybody who has a marginalized identity or has a different identity to this cisgendered white female who's spreading her message of, oh, you can manifest anything if you just put your mind to it. Like, enough is enough. If we aren't creating change where we can, then what are we doing? If your intention is to create an impact, this is written literally, if you go to my website, it says on there that I want to help you make the impact you are born to make. I believe that you're born to make an impact, whether it's with your children, whether it's with your clients, whether it's with your community, whether it's with a larger ripple effect. I do believe that you're meant to make an impact. And the question is, what is that impact? Who is it for? And is it actually creating change broader than just you? And listen, I'm holding myself to this flame too. And that's why I'm having this conversation. I've been having these conversations for a long time, and I only intend to get louder because what I truly know is that if you don't know where I stand, then I have done something gravely wrong. And I do not expect you to trust me. And I don't recommend trusting anybody, especially white coaches, who don't tell you where they stand. So if you are somebody who hasn't looked into this yet, there are a lot of great resources. I'm going to link them below for you. Get started. Unpack your biases. Recognize your privilege. Understand that there are many people who have different lived experience, and that you not doing the work in yourself to unpack your own biases, you're just upholding that the stereotypes and the harm that is being presented to them. And it's not too late to start. Like, the time is now. The time is yesterday. The time is 400 years ago. And it is our responsibility. It is, if you deem yourself a leader, it's your responsibility. It's not separate than business. This is new paradigm business. We all talk about being authentic. I talk a lot about sharing your story. We talk about this new way of being where you get to just manifest and you get to call it in and be in your feminine. And that's, I love it. That's all true. But it's not isolated from doing the work that actually sets us free, that liberates us truly. And none of us are liberated when the system of oppression and white supremacy are being upheld. None of us are. And aren't you in this for liberation? Aren't you in this for change? I don't have all the answers, but I do know that if this triggers you, if this ignites you in some way, take action. Stand up. Share your values. Define your values. And then share them. Because at the very least, you will start to call in people who resonate with those values, and you'll have a stronger platform. You'll have a stronger voice, and that's what we need you to have. Yes, like heck yes to creating soul fans who buy from you, and even more so creating community that is diverse, that is safe, that is moving the needle forward in terms of how we are and who we are as humanity. If this message touched you in some way, please do share it. I know that it's deeper and more intense than some of the things that I talk about, and I hope that that is equal, if not more valuable to you, because I truly believe that when we go deep, we go wide. So share this wide for me if it felt resonant. If you know somebody who needs to hear it, take a screenshot, put it on your story. Let's be in this together. Let's leverage the law of oneness and do the work to actually uncover the biases and the prejudices and get out of our own way and be actual, true, conscious beings who are doing really profound work in the world. That's what I'm here for. Is that what you're here for? Well, if so, I hope to see you next time on the Speak Your Truth podcast. Thank you so much for being here.